Okay, so good afternoon and a warm welcome to all. It's a pleasure to be with you here on this AOS conference. And my topic for the day is aiming bullseye with the EDOF lenses, otherwise known as extended depth of focus IOL. Okay, I have no financial interest in any of these lenses. So once this topic came up with about EDOF IOLs, I think all of you must be thinking, what is the need for another presbyopic IOL in the market? If you see the last 10 or 15 years, these multifocal IOLs actually have been doing quite a good job. And all these papers have given very good results saying that our patients are quite happy with vision. But the drawbacks about these multifocal lenses, otherwise known as bifocal lenses, is that it gives a patient a clear vision either at near and distance or at intermediate and distance. But this is achieved only with the negative features like dysphotopsia and glare and halos. So actually, we need to get a lens which has the ability to give good vision at the same time, reduce the glare and halos. If you have taken an interview with most of the ophthalmic surgeons and asked them what is that which scares them from using a multifocal IOL, so I think most of them would say that the glare and halos post-operatively which a patient has is one of the most limiting factors which keeps them away from using this kind of multifocal IOLs. So a one-step answer to this is that the EDOF IOLs, otherwise known as the extended depth of focus IOL. So my talk in the next 10 minutes is going to be about the basic optics about these lenses. What are the additional features which a surgeon should look into before implanting these lenses? And it's always good to have a little bit of clinical data of how these lenses has performed. So I'm going to share to you about my personal experience on the first 100 lenses I used. Okay, so we all know that a multifocal IOL has two focal points. When one focal point is at focus, the other focal point is not in focus, which results in glare and halos. This everyone knows. So this is a small animation which shows you how the light is distributed in a monofocal IOL and in a bifocal and an EDOF IOL. So what happens in a bifocal IOL or a multifocal IOL is that when one focal point is at focus, the other focus point is out of focus, which results in the glare and halos. But whereas in an EDOF IOL, what happens is that none of these light rays from the incident source is brought to focus. Instead, they are made to collapse up over a small range of distance, which gives the patient a continuous foci. So this is what the EDOF lens work well. Okay, so this is how the light rays are made to focus in a monofocal, multifocal, and an EDOF lens. The EDOF technology is actually only new to ophthalmology, but this particular technology, otherwise known as phase coding technology or constructive interference, have been long used in the astronomical telescopes and our SLR cameras. So basically, just to understand as an ophthalmic surgeon, you need to understand that the light rays from a distant source of light are not brought to focus, but they're made to collapse over a short range of distance, giving a continuous range of vision. So this is what you need to understand. The other most important factor about these EDOF lenses is its ability to correct the chromatic aberration. The only lens as far as available in the market which has the best chromatic aberration correcting ability are our PMMA lenses. But these PMMA lenses are not being used nowadays much. The next best lens is the EDOF technology lens. It has the ability to correct at least 2 diopters of the chromatic aberration, thus adding on to the elongated range of vision and the ability of a patient to see well. The other most important factor about these lenses is its ability to correct the astigmatism. We need to understand that an astigmatism behaves just like a multifocal IOL because there are more than one focal points. So the elongation of the focal points by the EDOF lenses is able to cover the Strum's conoid and helps also ability to tolerate the any errors in astigmatism which happens. See, especially for beginners who are very worried about their residual postoperative error. When you as you implant an external depth of focus IOL, these lenses are able to correct any residual postoperative astigmatism also, and hence the patients are quite happy. So this is the defocus curve of a monofocal and a multifocal IOL, where you would see that the focus is like a peak. Whereas in an extended depth of focus IOL, the defocus curve is elongated horizontally. To understand defocus curve is that, suppose if you're able to achieve a prediction error of less than 0.5, you make this patient sit in your office and read a 6/6 vision. And if you add lenses of plus 0.5 to -1, the visual acuity of these patients does not drop, whereas it drops in a monofocal and a multifocal. So this is what is a defocus curve, which clinically shows that even if you're off your target by a couple of diopters, the patient actually doesn't complain to you. So these lenses are less forgiving, and it is one of the important features for beginners who are more worried about their refractive errors in the postoperative period. The light distribution in a myotic pupil accounts for 36% for near, and hence this lenses work quite well even in a myotic pupil. Okay, to give you something about these lenses, this lenses is a refractive diffractive technology where the central 1.67 millimeter zone is used as a 3.3 dioptric add, and the rest of the part of the lens is a diffractive component, where you can see the small gray things which are actually not visible to a naked eye, and you need a high magnification to look into these lenses. And Dr. Shweta had actually told you about how a biometry should be done. Some of the important features is that an accurate biometry is very important. And when you have an astigmatism of more than one, do not implant these lenses, or you go for the toric component. When you have an astigmatism, a preoperative astigmatism of 0.75 to 1, also include a astigmatic correcting incision to correct these the astigmatism, and always look into the power or the residual error while you refine the IOL power in the other eye. The prediction error is very important. So just to define what a prediction error is, so it is a residual spherical component of refractive error that you land up at the end of 1 month after a refractive cataract surgery. The international standards are that it should be less than 1 diopter in more than 90% of the cases, and less than 0.5 diopters in 60% of the cases. So you really have to refine your prediction error by doing a complementary monofocal IOL at least in 20-30 cases before you start putting in any presbyopic correcting IOL. Because most of the patients, doctors complain that these lenses are not working well, is because they have not got the prediction error correct. So for these lenses to work well at near, at intermediate or distant, refine your prediction error before you implant these lenses. The other important factor which Dr. Shweta had very well explained is that the effective lens position. This is one of the most crucial factors for the success, and any formula which takes into account the effective lens position works well. Okay, I'm going to skip these slides because it has been very clearly explained by Dr. Shweta. And this is the formula which actually has to be used depending upon the your axial length. The Hill RBF formula is now available online in most of your machines. It's a radial-based acquisition function. Is a very good formula which can be used by all of us online. So my experience in the first 100 cases is that we had 60 patients with 106 eyes, where 74% of the people had a bilateral implant. 60% of them were the female gender, and we had 3 kinds of cataracts, where majority was a senile cataract. We did have a couple of cases with traumatic and post-LASIK cases who developed cataract, and we also implanted these lenses on them. We used the mask contrast and the intermediate charge, which was the major concern for us because distant vision was always not a concern, but we wanted to see how these lenses did well with the near and the intermediate vision. So the uncorrected distant visual acuity was 6.9 or better in 88% of the cases. However, 12% of the cases, they had a visual acuity of less than 6.9. The uncorrected near and intermediate visual acuity was good in 87% of our cases. So this shows that whenever you had a good distant visual acuity, the near and intermediate vision did fall in place. So it's very important for you to be bang on target on the biometry. So whenever there is a prediction error of more than 0.5, then these patients did not do well in intermediate or near visual acuity. And the IOL postoperative refractive error was around 67% in plano. The cylindrical error was also 47%. Okay, so finally, the number of bilateral implants we had was around around 60 cases we had. In that, around 42 cases, we did not give any glasses, and we did give glasses to around 8.4% of the cases. The most important thing is that when we went ahead and questioned these patients whether they had glare and halos, almost all of them said they had glare and halos, but the next question was it clinically significant, or did they have any practical difficulty? And none of them said that they had any practical difficulty. So the take-home message with these lenses is that these lenses do also have a glare and halos, because any lens with more than one focal point is going to have a glare and halos. The most important factor is that none of these patients had any practical difficulty with these glare and halos. That is what is more important. So this is the MDF chart of the bifocals, EDOF, and trifocals. So if you see, the EDOF has good vision at far and intermediate, whereas the near was not good when compared with a trifocal or a bifocal. So these lenses do work very well in the far and intermediate, and the near vision capability is much better than a monofocal lenses. So the take-home message is that depending upon your patient's need, you can mix and match with these presbyopic lenses. The EDOF lenses would be a very good choice for beginners who want to try out these premium lenses in their patients, because they are less forgiving for the simple fact that the glares and halos are much less. They are less forgiving on a spherical error and on the astigmatic error also. So believe me, I had patients who had a prediction error of 1 to 1.25 diopters. Though when you check these patients for the visual acuity in their office, their vision is less, but they rather seldom complain about the loss in the visual acuity, because they're able to accommodate because of the defocus curve. So this is what I would like to emphasize. Thank you.